Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
Are you trying to mute me?
No, it's just real loud, and I can't.
I sold Amazon, but it was $25.
Listening to listen, not listening to respond.
Yes! Oh, thank you for that. Let's get the who you are and what you do and where you are and all that stuff out of the way. Give me a little intro to who you are.
Hello, Jed. My name is Ryan Joseph. I am a photographer based in Tampa, Florida. I predominantly do fine art portraiture and weddings, but we do some commercial work as well, especially lately. And I'm honored that I'm able to be on your podcast, my friend.
The honor is mine. I don't know exactly what you would like to talk about today, but I went to your blog and I read something that is staying with me. And it's encapsulated by this. You say, so in conclusion, let's try and concentrate on the beauty that has spawned from this difficult time in our history.
Did I write that?
I think you did.
Yes. How else can you look at it, I guess, is my next question.
Yeah. How else can you look at it? I would answer that question by saying a lot of ways you can look at it.
Right.
And I think okay. I think we see that playing out though, right? Like the different ways that you can look at the last 2 months, 3 months, however long it's been. There's a lot of ways that you can look at it. I have a sense of you saying, this is how I'm choosing to look at it.
Absolutely. That's spot on.
Can you unpack that for me?
Absolutely. There's been times in my past, just as recent as a year and a half, 2 years ago, that I would have not even come close to being able to do it that way, to look at it any other way that is from I hate to say it, a victim mentality, but it kind of is. I've been that guy. I've been the victim. I've been everything but what I am, what I aspire to be now. And with that, it's allowed me to take things such as this and taste them a little bit differently than I would have in the past, as well as what is it then that it will then spawn and produce. And that's where I got really, really curious, especially with a lot of time on my hands now that I wasn't accustomed to. A lot of us aren't, right? And so I just started all right, Lord, where is this? What is this? What's going on here? And, why has always been the big question for me, is a lot of people have said, especially recently, start with why, what's your why, all this fun Simon Sinek sayings. And, but it's true. It resonates with me. So what is it and why is it that this is going on, and what can we do with it?
When you say, 2 or 3 years ago, you would have looked at this differently, or you were different 2 or 3 years ago. What do you mean by that?
Again, I was in a darker place than I live now. Back to the woe is me victim mentality mindset, from an industry that's changed. Let's talk about weddings, for instance, because that's a lot of the years, that's where my bread and butter came from. It was starting to turn in a different direction. It was starting to be something I wasn't used to having to participate in, as far as what you needed to do to stay relevant and stay busy, And so
social media.
Yeah, that was big. I heard my dog behind me has a diaper on. Let you talk about that later. Keep the boys away. So Yeah, I didn't. I tried to play that card, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working out for me. I would get whether I'm too artsy or I'm too this or I'm too that, and it just got really frustrating that the work that I wanted to do wasn't as readily available as it was in years past. And so that just took me to a place that I had not been before. As my wife will tell you, things prior to that had come a little easier for me over my career.
Yep.
And I call like I'm 51 now, for goodness sakes. So I call our generation like the tweeners. We knew it before social media, and we know it kind of after and seeing the effects of social media, right? And so I'm looking, all right, I'm in this chasm of what do I do now? I thought what my mindset was, if you just do the work and you try and stay creative and push the envelope and do the things in the arena in which you participate, meaning stay on to your craft, that was enough. And I found out it's not enough. And if you put it out there, they will come. Not really. So there's more to it than that. So I had to have a shift. It was either, okay, you either stay in your little hole of pity and victim mentality, or let's, as our friend Dan says, what else could be true? And
I like that.
That's where I got curious and say, what else could be true? And how much is this me? How much is what's going on, what I created, not necessarily what the industry created? And what is it?
Is it a perception versus reality argument to some degree?
Sure. Because you have, there was a way to do things in my mind, this little picture and this little world that I built. There's a way to do it and a way to not do it. And I wanted to have, I wanted to be relevant because I was good at what I did. And
you thought you should be relevant.
That's even better. Yeah. I should be relevant because I was good at what I did, not more than not as much as what I'm doing to show you or to, show off, or I don't know. I'm having trouble putting the.
Well, I mean, you thought you were. I'm putting words in your mouth, so feel free to, knock me down a little bit. But you knew you were good. This is at the time. You know that when you know you're good, it's frustrating when you don't receive not just the accolades or the recognition, but the success. And in our case, the clients and, the work. When you know that you're good and you're not getting what you feel as though the results should be, that's very frustrating.
Victim. That's what that creates. And looking back, which I've been doing a lot of reflection now, just from the actual creative process of looking back at my work, I wasn't that great.
Is that right? I don't believe it.
I mean, that's just
I don't believe it. I've been familiar with you and your work for a very long time.
I mean,
I don't ever remember thinking to myself, Ryan Joseph's he's not very good.
Well, I mean, it's all subjective, right? And my whole life, I've been my own worst critic, and that's kind of
okay.
Theme that we all have as creatives, right?
Okay.
And so, looking back, there are some times that are like, wow, that's beautiful, but there's a lot more times of saying, ooh, wow, I'm sorry. I really should have apologized. Because I was, you know what, Jet? I was never, ever afraid to try something. And still,
You're still that way. Yeah, that hasn't changed.
No. And so looking back at trying different techniques and like overlays and all the stuff that we did, you know, in the early part of the 2000s and whatnot, I just like I was trying my best. I would definitely got an A for effort, but you know,
Are you good now?
I'm better now. I'm better now. And hopefully when you ask me that question 10 years from now, I'll have the same answer.
I'm better now, right?
And not just from my mind works different now. So I see things that I wouldn't have seen. And don't ask me for an example of this, but I see things differently now. And I don't know specifically what I mean, what I even mean by that, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
You don't have a sense of why it is or what you even mean by saying I see things differently now.
If you had to ask me for a specific, no, I couldn't tell you specifically why I would say that, but I still know for a fact that it's true.
But I feel like you've gone through some sort of transformation.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I have.
Your mindset is different now. You used to play the victim, or at least you feel like you played the victim, and you're no longer doing that.
No, I was, you know, just thinking, playing the victim. There's an arrogance about that in itself, where I would use humility as an arrogant trait. My humility would still be arrogance. It would still be laced somehow together.
It was false.
Yeah, false. What? I don't know if it was false. I guess it would have been. But if I got a compliment, I'd blow it off and say blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? But I was just, more than anything, I didn't want to come across as arrogant. But I knew that I was, you know, that there was some truth to what they were saying. I just didn't have the ability to absorb it. And that came, and then so our friend Julia one day spoke those words to me, that your humility and your arrogance go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I was, what? I'm arrogant because I'm humble? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And then until I started delving into what that really means. And I'm like, that was a groundbreaking moment for me. And as far as transformation goes, I can tell you that.
So now fast forward to the last few months, we all go through this crazy season where sure, the option to play the victim was right there on the table. And maybe still is, really. I mean, it's right there. The woe is me, all these circumstances. And honestly, you know, for a lot of people, because these circumstances are different for everybody, right? Different people are in different states, not just the United States, but like different states of being and different states of circumstance with their personal life and their business. And so this affects people differently, right? Different levels.
Absolutely.
But to risk painting with a broad brush, you still have the option to play that victim card, right?
Yes, I do. Every day.
Or what else is true? And so what else is true? What's the other piece for you that you apparently have chosen?
Well, you know, the other piece for me was kind of like the George Costanza-ing of living your life. Just do the opposite of what
the opposite of what you would normally do?
Exactly.
Let's do the opposite.
Tried that before and see where that got me. But what about over here? Again, what is it about over there that's now interesting to me? And start reading different authors and, you know, books, and going to Apex with Jeff Woods' his collaboration, and, you know, Dan and Revenant and all those things. It's just, you know, you're familiar with Revenant.
Mm-hmm. I am, yes. You can describe it a bit.
It's a 4-day transformational workshop of some sort where you just get really, really, really honest with yourself. And our good
Sounds
friend
like
Dan,
a delight.
yes, and our good friend Dan, who has coached in prisons and in corporate America and everywhere in between, has the gift of calling your shit out, if I can say that, without even really knowing you that well.
Dan Tocchiniv, right?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry about that. Yes, Dan Tocchiniv. And that's never happened to me before in that way, and especially in a group environment as what it was. And I also went in there thinking, you know, is this going to be like a, you know, silver bullet, change everything overnight or 4 nights, and I come back from it just a new man? Because it didn't happen that way.
Right.
It did not happen.
Yeah.
It was actually, if I must be perfectly honest, and I hate when people say that, but I was a little disappointed when I came home because it didn't happen. I'm like, wait a
You're
minute.
like, where's this magical new person that was supposed to show up?
And so, you know, it just kind of went back to what I was doing before, but slowly, if I just kept in it and kept being, again, overuse of words, getting curious and being curious of what else can be true. That's a phrase they always say, and I got kind of sick of hearing it from Julia, quite honestly.
What else can be true? What else can be true?
Relevant to me because I already tried that before.
Mm-hmm.
What is it now that I what did I miss, or what did what's out there that can be a little bit more profound than what I've tried to do in the past? And so I'm still, I mean, I haven't stopped. And this has been a 2-year, 3-year process of just slowly each and every day, you know. And then a year ago, if I can talk about what happened to me last February 7th of 2019,
please,
a month before my 50th birthday, I thought I was having a heart attack. And 3 months prior to that, I kept playing in my head, man, my 50th is coming up. What is it do you have to show for it? What is it? You should be here, 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 and here. As you call it, I don't know who coined the phrase shooting all over yourself, but I was the master. And it's been my MO pretty much my whole life.
It's so good. I mean, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so I live in a fairly affluent area of south of Tampa. It's called South Tampa. And you're always comparing. You're always seeing what others are doing. Now you take that. I used to do that in just my photography professional world. Now I've allowed that to then fester into everywhere.
Yeah, your personal life. Yeah.
So even after Revenant, even after Julia's coaching, it just kept. I was getting more tools to be able to work with it, but it came to it came to fruition on February 7th when I thought I was having a heart attack, and went to the emergency room, hooked up to all kinds of stuff, not knowing what the hell is going on, and blood pressure through the roof when I've always been very healthy. Just like a switch went off. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Turns out it was an anxiety attack. It was a panic attack. But nobody could tell me otherwise. I was convinced that this was a heart attack and I have to go. And my wife will tell you to this day that she knew 100% it wasn't a heart attack, but she played along. And for most of last year, 2019, I was a train wreck. I was I'd never had in my life had more fear of dying than pretty much the entire 2019 year. Mm-hmm. And that was just waking up in the middle of the night, and again, and having panic attacks in the middle, anxiety attacks in the middle of the night. Your heart feels like it's beating out of your chest for no reason you can ever imagine. It just happens. And I've learned this whole process how powerful your mind is, because if you can use that, I mean, let's call that like a superpower for evil, though. So what is it you can do to make that superpower and turn it around the other direction?
Yes, that's my question.
And so again, I just stayed in it. I wasn't going to run from it. I wasn't going to try to wish it away. I mean, I'm a prayerful man, so I do a lot of praying, but at the same time, I also believe it was God allowing me to get drawn and track through the mud, so you can see that there's beauty on. And the whole time I was going through this, journaling and everything, man, I know there's beauty on the other side of this. There's that word again. There's beauty on the other side of this. And sure enough, there has been. Getting on the other side of it almost simultaneously, with almost to a year to the date, and then the whole COVID-19 thing starts happening.
Right. So you're like, whew, that was rough. And then boom.
But if it happened the same time as what was going on last year, if it happened in 2019 and 2020, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not going to say I'd die or anything, but I could tell you I was ill prepared.
Right.
To handle what's turning out to be still some stressful situations that's propagated from what's happening in our world today.
So you say, again, these your words, let's try and concentrate on the beauty that has spawned from this difficult time in our history. What does the beauty that has spawned look like for you?
For me, it's been, again, we've all heard people speak of, we all needed to slow down and we all need to spend more time with our families. We all needed to reflect and just have as much gratitude as possible, kind of to transform your life. I was already working on that anyway. And so I thought, all right, that's all true. It absolutely is all true. But creatively, what can this do? Because I'm not photographing anybody.
Right.
So what kind of story can I tell? What is it that I can look back 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now and look at and say, that's how I documented this time in our lives? Because that's what, as a photographer, that's what it's in your blood. That's what you want to do. But not necessarily the way I'd always done it before, through documentary style of photograph. That's what I'm trying to say. And I just started doing photo illustrations and start doing them on my phone through a couple apps. And then I just brought them into Photoshop and just started doing just my interpretation of what was happening in my world and what I was seeing through the lens of social media and things like, Facebook and YouTube, was also disheartening at the same time. And so it was a way of, for me, a type of therapy possibly that allowed me to not go dark.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean disheartening?
When we politicize our health, I had a really hard time with that, and I still do. It seems like split right and left based on what you believe is your truth versus what they believe is their truth. And so somewhere in the middle are a lot of people like me thinking, okay, what the hell are we supposed to believe? I mean, it was one thing when it was just politics at its finest. now this is some serious, health issues that are going on. Can I get it this way? Is it this communicable? Is it, all these things that this group is saying, but this group is contradicting and saying it's not true? Then YouTube start taking videos down and just like, what in the world is going on here? And it just seemed like something far more nefarious than just a virus to me. And so how can I communicate that through imagery? And it's just, I still have those thoughts, but I don't know if in years past that, I don't know. I've never been the one who loses their mind on social media and regrets what they did. I've never been that guy.
Right.
Externally, internally, hell yes, I was that guy.
Internally all the time.
It was. And I would internally start feeling about other people and their way in which they communicate. Like I was feeling I would call them the victims. Just shut up. Quit playing a victim. Quit playing a victim. Like I'm looking in the mirror for crying out loud. You be it so you see it. That was it. And so I think I've done well in getting through that, although it still lingers every once in a while. And I've got more mercy, more compassion, more love than I've ever had in my life.
And is that what it is? Is that what it has come down to? Is that you have transformed and are transforming into a more loving and compassionate and maybe empathetic person than you were before as a result?
I really hope so. I can't say that it's not true. I feel it, at least, and I hope I project it, because I was a judgmental SOB. I'm not going to lie.
Is that right?
Yeah. Again, always internally. So, but people like Dan and people like Julia can see that as if it were, wearing it on your t-shirt.
Right.
Where those people are instrumental to have in your life. And I was incredibly blessed to be, I've always been circled with greatness, whether it's my brother, who's in part of the church, what's another brother who's just as the overachiever, whether it's Parker Pfister, by the way, who's a very dear friend of mine, whether Jeff and Julia, always. And then Dan comes into my life. I've been, two amazing parents. I've always I had no excuses, basically. And that's what, kind of going back to my whole anxiety trip, was, dude, you got nothing to be anxious about. Yeah. What is going on here?
Yep.
And that's what was, oh my gosh, probably one of the most frustrating things to kind of to grasp is like, even when I'm at Revenant, I'm looking around, and I wasn't saying this to be pompous or arrogant at all. It's like, I don't belong here. These people have real problems.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
These people have been in prison. These people have my partner lost everything. I was there 2 weeks after the fires, and he had a heating and cooling business, lost everything, burned to a crisp. Truck, equipment, everything. Thousands of dollars in cash he lost because he had it in his house. And it's just, and those were most of the people in there. People who had abusive parents on all levels. I'm looking around going,
and you're thinking, oh, I'm not very good at social media, and people, I'm not getting enough clients. I'm better than what my.
I'm like, oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, it's a wake up call.
Yeah, but if you ask anybody, I had every right to be there as much as they did.
Yeah, from their perspective.
Right. And so, I can look back and say maybe I didn't show up as much as I should have based on my thought that I don't want to take away anybody else's time. Now, nobody's ever said that, but I can think that sometimes. And
maybe that's a piece of your arrogant humility.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So when this whole anxiety issue took place last year, I'm like, okay, now I get it. This is dark. I've never been through darkness like this before. But you have now the tools to go to battle. You just have to believe in them. And so, God bless my wife. Good Lord. I don't know how I would have done it. It's incredibly frustrating to sit there and watch your husband just fall apart. Not only that, it's like, who's going to take care of us? And so then there was judgment on myself about that. It kept piling on. And I was the one doing most of the shoveling.
Yeah. Right.
And through the grace of God, man, we got through it, and we're continue to get through it. And I've said this whole past couple of months, I should be freaking out far more than I am.
Right.
But I'm not. And kind of concerning. I was like, what am I missing here, right? Because most people who just lost $15,000 in 1 month from bookings, they'd be freaking out.
Right.
I'm not. I haven't yet, and I hope I don't. So at the same time, what else can I do instead of worrying about all that? Is there a way that I can start still growing and using this as a catalyst to go places that I've never gone before? I've never done photo illustrations before. I've never done any of that stuff before. I just did one yesterday for Mr. Floyd, who was murdered in Minneapolis.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't sleep. It's like, well, where was my passion for all this the 225 other times this has happened?
Right.
Well, I don't know, but it's here now.
Right. Where can people go to see this work, to see your stuff?
I can just see it. It's not like a ton of it out there, but it's on my website, rjphoto.com, and my Facebook page. There's other processes that I want to do with them to get them off the screen and onto print. So that's what I'm working on right now too. I don't know
what are your plans moving forward? What do you want to do with the work? Is it something that you consider part of your business now, or is this just a passion project? What is this?
There's part of it that, I've always been told, and we see it a lot these days, and I used to kind of make fun of it. It's, why is everybody telling everybody their problems? Why is everybody so transparent? I don't understand this. I don't get it. And that's my tweener mentality. It's like, we never did that before. We never talked about stuff. We just let it fester.
It's all internal. It's all internal, right?
Blows up. But now I think it's a necessary thing in a lot of ways. So on two fronts, it helps you communicate who you are, and it helps people see the same. Not because you want to impress them, but more so they can get a better idea of what you're about. And transparency and vulnerability are all these things that we crave. We can see the popularity of social media and how it's, allowed that all to happen in a space that we can sometimes say too much.
Right.
Sometimes tweet too much.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have Twitter though. I was talking about the orange guy.
I think I know who you're talking about. Oh, you know what? I didn't know that you were going to that you were going to go there, but I feel like you did, and I
Orange guy?
appreciate it very much.
You didn't think I'd go to Orange Guy? Is that what you mean?
No, not the orange guy. I'm talking about yourself.
Well, there. I don't.
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
I appreciate your time. I encourage people to go to check out some of the stuff that you've done. I'm looking at one of them right now.
They started real quick. They started as self-portraits. So the very
I
first.
see that. That's what. There's a few of them on here.
And as photographers, we've seen over the years that people like to do self-portraits of themselves. Allow myself to introduce myself, and I had really nothing to say. Just doing a typical self-portrait that's been done 27,000 times.
Right.
This allowed me to go into my mind and my head a little bit and see what came out.
Well, thank you for sharing both your story and your work, and your thought process and the situation that you're in. Keep growing, keep becoming, and we'll catch up again sometime, my brother.
Thank you, Jed. I appreciate you, man. I love what you're doing, and love to your beautiful family.
Thanks, brother.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right. Right there. It's there somewhere.